Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Terrell L. McTire, and I serve as your Minister of New Church Strategies of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ through Hope Partnership for Missional Transformation. And you have just entered the third episode of New Church Hacks. As we get started, I'd like to inform you that this webinar is being recorded and will be available for future viewing at newchurchhacks.com. This is the third episode, as I said, in our new series that we're so proud of, which provides practical and sometimes peculiar prompts for churches from start to restart. Today's topic is 26 plus marketing hacks to move ministry forward. And this webinar can be used as a tool for a discussion or a call to action in your congregations or regions to start and sustain healthy new and renewing churches. So stay to the very end when I will also give you 7 totally unrelated but invaluable new church hacks. Also, towards the end, there will be a time for you to get a chance to ask questions. So throughout this webinar, if you have questions that emerge, we welcome you to use the Q&A feature by clicking on the icon on the side of your screen to submit any of your questions. So please also include your email address and your name so that we can contact you afterwards. If we don't get a chance to get to it, we will follow up with you afterwards. To reference my favorite summer pastime, Big Brother. But first, I want to start by asking each of you a question. So as I ask your question, I'm going to pull this poll up. I want you to have the opportunity to get engaged here. And so our question to you first is marketing an important part of your ministry? How important is marketing to ministry today? So let's just take a moment to filter in a couple of your answers. We're seeing an overwhelming amount of you saying that marketing is mandatory for ministry, but a few of you can say it, give or take, mainly important. I'm really happy that no one has chosen the last option, that they are happy with Jesus alone, because we're going to talk about how important marketing really is to each of our ministries. So you'll have a chance to chime in and continue to respond to this poll as we continue to go along. So let's talk about marketing for a minute. Do you hear the word marketing and cringe? Do you die a little inside? Do you roll your eyes and devoutly hope that your church won't ever have to do any of that simple marketing business? Well, if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many people are reticent about marketing. So what exactly is marketing? It's simple. Marketing is sharing the story behind your collective or church and telling your audience or community about your ministry and why they should get involved. If your ministry is meaningful, impactful, helpful, useful, and fulfilling a need, you need to not get necessarily involved in all the cheesy bells and whistles, but do amazing things that we're going to be able to share with you. Marketing can take the form of gorgeous photographs or sharing inspirational stories behind your programs, projects, and participants. Marketing can look like funny stories or honest emails to your friends telling them about this new teaching series that you started in your church. Today, we'll introduce you to a couple dozen ideas for marketing without spending tens of thousands of dollars on a marketing degree like I did. But I'm glad I got my degree. All right, so to begin with, let me introduce you to our conversationalists and tell you a little bit about them. All right, let me pull all of my beautiful friends up here. In the upper right-hand corner of the Brady Bunch windows, here is Sylvia Ramos. Reverend Ramos is a second career pastor and a first career nerd. I love her for that. All nerds, big ups. So she has spent the last 20 years working in IT. Her and her family recently relocated to Florida, where they are loving their new, beautiful, sunny home. And in the lower left-hand corner is my friend Emily Frische, and she is the Chief Marketing Officer for the Pension Fund of the Christian Church. She has there you go, sporting her swag. And so she has over 25 years of marketing and sales experience building brands and businesses at places like Lilly Pharmaceuticals, Sara Lee Corporation, JD Byrider, and many others. And now we're happy to have her here at the Christian Church. And in the lower right-hand corner is my friend Lashaundra McCarty. She is the owner of 3C Creative communications, and consulting. And she's also the creator of STOP Retreat for Women. She specializes in social media marketing training, leadership development, and vision planning. So thank you all for being here. We cannot wait to hear all of your hacks. Each of you have the opportunity to grill our presenters towards the end. So be sure and stay till the very end. But first, I have another question for you. Let me in this poll, all the results of the poll is 74% of you said that it is a mandatory part of your ministry. So we are happy to hear that. My next question for you goes like this. To move ministry forward through marketing, you are most interested in learning about what? I'm going to leave this up for a little bit so you can take a look and we can think about the type of things that we want to address for you today over the next 55 minutes. So the things that are really important to you that you would love for us to answer questions about related to marketing. All right. Now we are ready to hear from our wonderful conversationalists. And let's see who goes first. Sylvia, why don't you jump in and go first with your marketing hacks? Take it away.
All right, so the first one I want to bring to you is start with what you know. I know this is this is technology, right? You thought I was going to say something about do this in Facebook or do something in Google or Snapchat. But you should start with the tool you use every day, that tool you know best and you're most comfortable with, because it is about understanding the tool. Number 2 is be regular. Your doctor might tell you to be regular, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about post regularly, tweet regularly, live chat regularly, stream regularly. Do it on a regular schedule. It could be once a week. It could be twice a week. Whatever that is, don't miss a week. Even if you have to predate something, let's say you're going on vacation, just post it on a regular schedule, because you would be surprised who's waiting for that input and how many people are reading it and forwarding it to other people. The next thing is, I already did that one. This one, tell your story, right? It goes in line with understanding what the message is you're trying to show people. A story is the best way on social media. You know what it is. People click on links or they look at a video because of the story it tells. Be thoughtful is one of the other ones I would tell you. That's regular as well. I lost my thought for one. But be thoughtful. That means don't post about things that don't matter. Post about things that are important. Take time. You know, in the old days, people used to send out newsletters, right? In the really old days, people used to mail out the newsletters, and pastors used to spend time getting columns together. Now, you should spend time putting your posts together, understanding what you're posting, when you're posting, how it sounds. Is that tweet important? So be thoughtful. Also, community involvement. Is that it? I think these aren't working. Community involvement is the next one. So when you post something about an event in your church or an event happening, tell people to post back pictures. Tell them to let you know how it went. People love this engagement back and forth. The big celebrities usually ask people, hey, what do you think of this? And they'll comment on some of their folks, right? Same thing. You want people to put in input, encourage them. If it's a blood drive, tell them forward it and post pictures of you at the blood drive. Second thing is we don't have a lot of time, do we? Leverage, leverage, leverage. That means use social media multiple times. So I post on Instagram, right? And when I use Instagram, there's a little feature that allows me to post on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the same time. I try and leverage that so that way I'm not posting something on Facebook, turning around, posting the same thing on Twitter, or posting the same thing on Instagram. I try and leverage my social media. Find those links so you can leverage. Last thing is practice, practice, practice. You thought I should have practiced with these, but I guess not enough. So I would say practice your social media. I had a writer tell me once that when she posts on Twitter, she actually writes it out beforehand. It is another skill you need. Write it out, take pictures, but practice. Maybe create an account to test stuff and see how it looks. Another thing is not all tools are created equal. That means don't use a tool that is meant for pictures to write a blog in. Twitter is not meant to be a blog, right? But Instagram is meant to take pictures, correct? So know what the strength of the social media tool is. And if you don't know, trust me, you can ask any 18-year-old or younger, and they'll tell you what they use that tool for, right? Number 9 is start with free. Free is good. We like free. But you might have to pay, and don't be afraid to pay. Just know what you're getting. Whether it's MailChimp or whether it's a Facebook ad, understand I am paying a certain amount and it might or might not be worth it. You can test a Facebook ad, see what sort of response you get versus paying for MailChimp and sending out newsletters through email. The last thing is failure is an option. So you can fail at a social media app. And it's okay. No one's going to hate you. No one's going to remember the mistake, because if a tool isn't working for you, don't continue using it. That is why it's so important to understand your tools, understand why and when you're using it. Those are my 10 hacks for today. And I do have a list I want to send out later that talks about the different apps and what they're used for. But Terrell, it's on to the next person. Terrell, we can't hear you.
I hear you.
I was talking. You couldn't hear me? It's okay. Failure is an option, remember? All right. So thank you so much for sharing those things, Sylvia. Let's recap for a minute. Start with what you know. Be regular. Be thoughtful. Tell your story. Get the community involved. Leverage. Practice. Not all tools are created equal. Start with free. We all love free. And again, I exemplified how failure is an option. So yes, please stick around to the very end, because we will be sharing a free tool that Sylvia put together about an overwhelming amount of apps that will help you, and many of them will be free. So we want to now bring my good friend Emily on board. Share with us your apps, your hacks.
My hacks. Thank you, Terrell. And it's such a blessing and a pleasure to be with all of you virtually today. And I wanted to share with you that what the hacks that I'm going to be communicating today are hacks and proven techniques that have been used by large churches that have started small and have grown and are continuing to grow. So let's start with community. It's really about them, not about us, right? So focus your church on the local community. How can you help the community, and what are their needs? You all in your poll shared that you really want to understand social media and events. So I'm going to try to focus on those, but having events and inviting the community in is a great place to start. Number 2, you might be saying, well, how do I know what the community wants? Networking, networking, networking. This means meeting with the local firefighters, the police, the teachers, the school next door, the donut shop. Don't have your staff meeting inside the church. Go out, have it at the local donut shop. Ask the local donut shop owner who just opened, who probably doesn't have business, what do you need? So get out there, talk to the mayor, talk to those in the community, understand what the needs are. And then the next step is share your mission. So link the God's grander vision and the mission of the church to the needs of the community. Write down your mission, print it, tweet it, email it, social media, event it, repeat, repeat, repeat. So share your mission and let people see the mission of Jesus in your church and in what you're doing to deliver on the needs of the community. Then what is next? That powerful tool, harness the internet. So the beautiful thing is, just building on what you'll hear from all my colleagues today, is that the internet is virtually free. So share what you're doing. When you're in the community, put it on your website, email it out in your community communications, post it on social media, leverage the power of the internet and be consistent in that message and get out all of the great things that you're doing. And what does this do? This builds momentum. Your church is excited because people in the community are coming. The community is excited because, wow, this church cares about my kids. They care about what's happening at my school. They even came to my donut shop. They care about my business. So harness the power of the internet. Then next, very importantly, is theme and repeat. We all get exposed to a lot of messages, but having a great theme that ties your church to the community, designing that theme, and I'll just share a little bit. So the two churches that I leveraged, one was a United Methodist church, and then another is just a huge disciples church that's been growing and growing. One of them has a theme, and everything they do is for Gwinnett, which is the community. So their whole theme is about for Gwinnett. And every time they do something with their church, they tweet it out. Hey, this is for Gwinnett. Another United Methodist church says, we're red shirt ready. So everything they do, their kids are out and about in the community, or they have the community in and they have the trick-or-treaters coming. They've got their red shirts on, and it always says, we're red shirt ready. So pick a theme, use it, and you'll get tired of it before the community does. Most importantly, these are dollar signs, but pay it forward. What you're doing in the community, it's energy, it's love, it's doing good. It's basically walking the walk and doing what Jesus would want us to do in the community. So we're paying it forward. When the community says, wow, we've got a church, or I'm sorry, we have a school that's right next door, we need folks that can come into our school and read to our kids, because our kids have working parents and they're behind on reading. Pay it forward. Send all those retirees in there. Send all those stay-at-home moms in there. Wear your red shirts and pay it forward. As people are seeing your actions and they know, wow, this church cares about us. I feel like I belong. This church is part of us. It's part of our community. Then they are like, wow, I see myself in this church, in this community. This is something I want to be a part of. And this will pull people in because they see the generosity of your actions and your time and what you're doing, and that your church is excited about the community. The next thing to do is, when they visit, belonging. Help them feel the same feeling that they had when you were out supporting them in the community. When they come in, greet them, welcome them, get their information, give them a welcome gift. Let them know, hey, come to our welcome table. Be sure to sign in and then follow up. It's really hard to come into a church and not know someone, and maybe it's your first time. But if you walk in and you feel the love of Jesus and they already are acting like you belong here and they're so glad that you finally came, but then keep them feeling like they belong and reinforce how they feel about being there. And I'm hearing a little feedback, so I apologize for that. Maybe Terrell can help us with that. And then the last and important thing is share the good news. So everyone out there in the poll said they wanted social media, events as kind of the top two. So share the good news, take photos, have folks with their red shirts on out there sharing it, have people tweeting it, using social media, and have members of the church going out and using that good old-fashioned word of mouth. So leverage all the channels, pass on the pictures, tell the story. And as we all know, we all need a lot of good news in these tough times. So good news leads to great things. And you'll see that more people will come to your church and will hear your message, and even more good news will come out of that. So Terrell, be my recap. Tell them the hacks.
Absolutely. These were great hacks. We thank you for that. Oh, look at that. All right. So connect with the community, network and ask around, share your mission, harness the power of the internet. Theme is king. Pay it forward, build a sense of belonging, and share the good news. I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? To share the good news. And so we appreciate you, Emily, for sharing those hacks. Now, my friend Lashaundra, what do you have for us?
So, great job, guys. This has been an awesome list. My first one is to solicit contributors. You do not have to create all of the content yourself, and content creation is usually the biggest barrier that those who are trying to build a social media following have. You have a congregation full of people, so take advantage of those gifts and talents of those who like to write, don't mind being in front of a camera, and allow them to be contributors in your social media, whether they're providing pictures, videos, testimonials, live feeds, or showing other components of your ministry. Take advantage of it being a joint ministry of the collective or the congregation. Number two is plan ahead. So in ministry, a lot of things pop up. If you're bivocational, you may have a job that you're dealing with, family, as well as work of the ministry. So plan ahead by actually putting your social media posting on your calendar as an appointment. Don't leave it to chance. Don't say, I'll get there. Actually write it down. And when that alert comes up, you'll have a reminder that, yeah, I actually need to write something for my Facebook page, or I need to practice what I'm going to be doing on the live stream. So really make it an appointment so that you'll commit to it and don't schedule anything over it unless it's a real emergency. Number three, always have access. I've been working with social media for over a decade, and there are tons of churches that I interact with that don't have access to their Facebook page or their Twitter. It was either a secretary or a members, and that person may have moved on to another ministry or left the community, and now they're stuck and can't access their accounts. So always have access, even if you're not going to be the one posting it. Make sure that you, an administrator, have the username and the passwords. It's vital. Number four, use schedulers. So it was mentioned before that even if you're going out of town, you can have your posts on a schedule so that it'll go out for you. Do that across the board. There are social media management tools that are free, like Hootsuite. You can have 3 accounts on there that cost absolutely nothing. And it will allow you to schedule your posts years in advance, even though you probably won't need it that far in advance. It'll also allow you to see the metrics, how many people are interacting with it, and comment if somebody has commented on a particular post that you've put up. It's a lifesaver, so definitely use it. Diversify your posts beyond the pulpit. We all know that church is more than the Sunday morning sermon. And a lot of people are starting to take advantage of doing live streams during the sermon by having either a camera up there and allowing people to see what worship looks like. But worship is just a small piece of being in the fellowship of a church. So think about some of the other things that you can actually show people, whether it's some of the things that you do with youth, if you guys go on a trip or do some mission work. So diversify what you're putting out there so that people can see other components of your ministry that may actually attract them just as much as the Sunday morning worship. Create secret groups if you need to. So on Facebook, you can actually have a secret group just like you can have a public group. A secret group will allow people to post information that they don't want everybody to know. So if there is a women's group and they want to share some of their concerns, they can actually post within the group their prayer request and nobody else will be able to see it. So take advantage of things like that that will allow you to create community online for your church or your congregation, but it won't be public information for everybody like something you would put on your website, such as your worship time. Promote via social media. So Sunday morning, people typically will put their announcements in the bulletin, or somebody will come forward and make an announcement about upcoming events. If somebody is not at that service or doesn't go to that church, they may not know that you have a community dinner that's coming up that everybody's invited to. So take advantage of social media and post it there. You can create an event page on Facebook. You can send out the graphic on Twitter or Instagram and also put it on your website so people will know that there are events that are happening that they're actually welcome to come to even if they're not a member. But my warning to you is not to use the Facebook I'm interested or going or tweets that people put out that says they're coming as registration, because sometimes people will mark it and not show up. And I don't want you to end up overbuying for people who don't actually come to your event. But what you can do to keep track is actually have people do registration. And if it's selling tickets, you can actually connect Eventbrite or some other registration tool to your Facebook event, which will allow you to see those who have actually fully committed to attending. My next hack is use live video. It can be daunting. It really can be. I will honestly admit that I'm not as good at it as I should be, but the analytics on it are phenomenal. If you're using a platform like Facebook, if you go live, then other people who are connected to your Facebook page will actually see that you're doing a live stream, and it will send out information for you. And even when people come on later, whether on their phone or on their computer, they'll know that you did a live stream and get an alert from Facebook. If you're on Twitter, YouTube also allows you to live stream. Take advantage of those opportunities, and they don't have to be things that are inauthentic. If you are doing something at the church that you would normally broadcast anyway, just go ahead and pull out your phone and do a live feed. If you are redecorating, if you have some special event coming up, you can use that as an opportunity to do promotional videos that really don't cost you anything but a few moments of your time. And my last hack is to repurpose. So if you write an article or instead of just putting up the article and shooting it out in your newsletter or your e-blast, take some of the quotes out of that article and retweet them. Put a nice picture with it and post it on Instagram. You don't have to use that material one time, and you own it. So it's not like you have to pay somebody else the more times you use it. Take advantage of the great material you're already producing and repurpose it across your social media platforms. Get the bang for your buck. That's my last hack. Back to you, Terrell.
All right. Thank you so much, Lashaundra. Let me run through your hacks real quick. Solicit contributors, plan ahead, always have access, which is very, very important. Use a scheduler, diversify your posts beyond the pulpit, have secret groups or private groups, and promote via social media. Use live video streaming and repurpose your content. It saves you time, money, and headaches. So thank you, each of you, for all of your tremendous hacks. I really appreciate that. And man, we ran through those really fast. We're only halfway through the webinar, so this gives us lots of time to answer questions. So it is not too late, if you do have a question, to throw that into that feature so that we can tackle some of the main aches and pains that you may have on your mind related to social media, related to events, relating to live streaming, what have you. In our poll, we did notice that social media and events, social media and live streaming are the tops of your inquiries. So we do want to try to talk about what those mean for our ministries today. To begin, Nathan had a question. So either one of you are welcome to jump in here and answer this question. And I'll repeat the question. It says that in planning pieces for small churches, how do we implement a strategy to share our social media and promote who we are? So can one of you give us a few key components to creating a social media strategy for small churches?
You want me to start or?
Sure, let's hear it.
My first suggestion is always to have more than one person. So actually create a social media ministry so that the burden isn't on one individual, and to be cross-generational. So have some older members who know the mission and the passion of the church and will kind of keep some of the messaging in line, and some of younger people who are very familiar with technology and aren't as daunted by it. And I would say get that group together and start by looking at your calendar. Everybody already has a calendar, even if they don't actually pull it out. So what big events come up every single year that you can actually use social media to promote? What series are coming up? What community events do you guys participate in? And start by having your team come around those particular events and say, okay, 6 weeks out, we're going to promote that we do a school drive, a school supply drive. And how can we promote that out to the community? Okay, so this person's going to take the pictures. This person's going to write about it and put it on Twitter. This person will do a flyer for it. And it doesn't have to be a super fancy flyer. You can use Canva, or you can even use Word or Publisher to create a flyer for your event that can be put online, as well as that can be printed out and given out to the people in your community. But start small and really harness what you already have and take advantage of your calendars and build out from there.
Can I add something to that? Okay, so adding on to that, the flyer you use is what someone may link to on Twitter or even on Facebook. You can leverage that over and over again. So understand that you don't have to create one flyer for Facebook, one for Twitter, one for your website. Use that same ad for all of it across the board. Also, encourage your younger people who tend to tweet a lot or post a lot to share it out, and encourage them to reshare. That usually is very helpful. The other thing is, because it's an event, you can add the event to Facebook for free and share it to all your friends who can share it to their friends. Use those tools to do. Now, you're not going to get 25 people that you've never seen before participate. But what you will do is you'll start seeing a name recognition come up. So the more events you post, the more likely people are going to start seeing those events, because now that someone has linked to one event, they actually may like your page. So that is really important. Definitely use that leverage and start with what you know. It may just be a printed flyer linked to Facebook, but if you have 20 people on Facebook, or even just 5, how many of us have more than maybe 100 friends on Facebook? Many of us. So just have them share it, even if you don't expect them to be local. You just don't know who knows whom and how it all comes back full circle.
That's really good. I want to just add one tip. When you talk about being able to have several different assets, sometimes the dimensions between Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, these things are a bit different and can be skewed if you just use one single promotion. But technology has solved that issue as well, because there's a tool called canva.com. And if you have not experienced Canva, it too is free. If someone can type that into the chat so that we can see how that spells, canva.com, then that is going to save your life and save you time. because Canva has this magical little feature where you can create one graphic and then hit a button and it'll put it into the latest dimensions for all your different platforms, including different flyer sizes and all sorts of things. So Canva has really been a lifesaver for me to be able to do postings and graphics across. And you don't have to be a graphic designer because it has so many great templates and tools for you to be able to use very easily. Emily.
I'm just going to kind of summarize and pull it all together for those of you that are out there listening. I think everybody on the team would agree that number one, plan. So start with your plan. Totally agree. Here at the pension fund and at our church, we actually put together an Excel spreadsheet and we list the months down one side, the event in another column, and then we actually have, what we want to message and the channel. And maybe you would just want to start in your plan with one channel. Maybe you've got a lot of people on Facebook. Maybe you have a lot of people on Twitter. But the first step is plan. Number two, execute. So pick what you want to execute and then step back, see how it goes. And then the third thing is measure. So plan, execute, measure. And measure what happened, what worked. Maybe you did Facebook and Twitter. I thought it would be kind of cool to share an example of something that just happened at our church this weekend. So when I start with community, we had a plan. And so we invited the head of the sports caster group at our local news station to give a sermon about his personal testimony about how, faith in the real world. So we planned that, and we had a lot of our youth going out at one of the games where we knew he would be. So they had their picture made with him, and so we had our plan. We knew he was going to be speaking, and we sent our kids out at one of the big football games where he was, and we took a bunch of pictures. And then he came to the church, and we took a bunch of pictures, and then we executed. So we put all those pictures out. We sent them out on Twitter. Then the news station liked it. And then all of a sudden, some new people had liked it, and then they joined our church group. And then we measured and we looked at how many people watched the live feed, how many people liked it on Twitter, how many people looked at it on Facebook. And so we saw that the school portion, the TV station portion, and it was sort of a viral event. So plan, execute, and measure. Try it out, and I think on this one you won't fail.
Darrell.
Thank you, Nathan, for presenting that question. I want to keep on this theme of Facebook for a minute. Dwight presented a question to us. He asked, how can we become really proficient and keep churches safe with social media?
I'd like to start with that one.
Sure.
Just being in IT, one, you're never 100% safe online. It's kind of like you're going to be outside on the street dodging cars. That's what social media is like. So be prepared that whatever you put out there has to be safe enough. So start looking through your privacy settings and your settings in the Facebook account. But don't put anything out there that you're concerned would get is too personal information. Mm-hmm. Facebook should be about advertising, not about putting your a checking account, your something that's personal, like a personal address. That should never be shared out in Facebook. It should always be about a general statement that you're not afraid if you throw it away that someone will pick it up. So, but look through your privacy settings and see how they work. There are a lot of them, and so read them, because some of them, if you set them, people can't friend you, by the way, who aren't your friends. So be aware of the settings you set. That's really the best way, and keep reviewing those settings. Don't accept Facebook requests from people that look a little odd, people that might have just created a Facebook page a month ago and have 2 pictures on it. That's kind of sketchy. If it feels uncomfortable, it probably is. That's really the best advice I have.
Can I chime in? One of the things I mentioned doing other like nonprofit trainings is the safety I'm most concerned about is really kids. And not every child should be broadcast. Some people don't want their kids' pictures put on social media. So ways that churches can be safe is to get a release form. You know, even if you do live streaming, cover the pulpit. And if it's like adults singing Sunday with the choir, fine. But you do have to watch whether or not you're singing songs that are copyrighted. So you watch that. But when it comes to like displaying children, get the parents' permission first in writing, because not everybody wants their kids out there, and not everybody's in the safest situation. And you don't know people's backgrounds if they haven't shared it with you. I have a friend who is over a nonprofit. The news media came out and covered a story, and the kids were in the background. That child's mom had actually left an abusive husband. The dad saw the newscast and knew where the kid was after school. And they ended up having to relocate again. Not all the situations are going to be that drastic, but it's just a conversation worth having, that to make sure that, yes, you want to promote the church, you want to promote the ministry, but also be mindful of the fact that not everybody's situation is good and not everybody in the world is good. So that's just something to keep in mind when displaying images. And if you just want to do some marketing material and had young, cute faces on it, use stock photos. Mm-hmm. That way you're not putting the images of children out there and putting them in harm's way unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I would add is, as part of your plan, look at, for your church, perhaps you want to set up and have the staff of the church set up unique accounts that are only used for work purposes. And so for Twitter, for example, with our area directors, some of our area directors are ministers, so they have a large following, and that's part of their work as well. But others have set up a unique Twitter account that they only use for pension fund purposes. So I think part of the planning needs to be talking through safety, security, and what needs to be set up and what are your guidelines. Here at the pension fund, we actually have a social media policy. And so as new folks come on board, that might be a little bit, if you're a new church and just starting out, but you might be intentional about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and leverage some folks in your church that maybe have done this before for work, and they can bring in some of those best practices and help be part of your team to make it successful.
We also had a follow-up from Dwight asking just about acceptable pictures and messaging on Facebook and putting those up. And I think, Lashaundra, you kind of answered that some. But if you have a tight group of family members who you know are a part of your family, who are not guests, it is okay to to photograph them and use them in your ministry marketing, because they will give you a greater sense of they will agree to being a part of that. So they could be a great part of that messaging. But preventing people from using unacceptable pictures, the main thing is that when people post on your social media page, that you have the right type of measures in place, that as soon as you get a post, you are aware of it and you can respond right away. And so the way that I do that is an app called Page Manager for Facebook specifically. Page Manager will send me a notification the moment that anyone posts on any one of my fan pages. And so I am able to respond right away. In today's time, being able to respond in real time is key. Quick question for you guys, for the team. If you have a Facebook page, do you need a website?
Yes.
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 Okay. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't need a website because I have a Facebook page, but we still do need websites, even if we have a Facebook page. So just wanted to get that across the board. I want to leave Facebook for a minute and talk a little bit more about live streaming. So Paul raised a great question. He says, in order to produce high quality products and to produce a high quality stream, what type of equipment is recommended, both for audio and video potential, for to prevent lagging and things like that for live streaming?
Well, the lagging piece may have a little bit more to do with your internet connection speed than the device that you're using. So that's something to check. If you have slower internet, it's really not going to matter. It's going to drag. Um, in regards to equipment, there are all kinds of equipment that you can use. You can use your cell phone and it come out pretty good. There are even microphones that you can now attach to your iPhone or your Samsung. The key would be the lighting. Like, is the lighting good? Like, do you have, are you casting shadows? Like, off my computer, I don't have the best lighting. So that's something that you really need to look into, probably a little bit more than the equipment. And there are some tools out there, even if you wanted to stream from your computer, like Be Live, which is BeLive.com. It's actually a free software that will allow you to live stream from your laptop, from your tablet, or even from your phone. And I've used it a lot. It works pretty well. But there are a lot of packages out there. I would really need to like go offline to really talk about like what you have, what your budget is, because it's kind of a big question to answer in a very small period of time. But check out either Best Buy, and you can look up and see like these are some of the tools that are being used that could turn my phone into streaming. And that's getting a little tripod. There's even a monopod stand that you can connect your phone to, that will stabilize your picture so that you're not shifting around. I'm sorry, Paul. It's really it's really an offline conversation. But does anybody else want to chime in?
Well, I agree with you. This is a conversation that has to do with how much budget you have. If you have zero budget, that iPhone is amazing. You know, don't have it far away. Don't zoom in. Remember, when you zoom in, you're removing the pixels from it. So so the bigger you have it, the more it looks that granular. So have it as close as possible without zooming in. Second is a mic. Even this is a headless mic. It's great sound. I've recorded on this, but the mic is excellent. So those are the two things. Start out with that stuff that you have. You know, there are movies out there that have been produced on an iPhone so far, and they've been retouched for the theaters. But man, that iPhone can be really powerful. And then there's stuff that you can buy if you're a gadget person. There's actually a new camera that will follow you as you walk, which is really cool. But,
Yes.
you know, it's $400. And so you can go up. So I agree with Lashaundra. It depends on your money. Free is good, though.
Listen, I want to take the pressure off of you related to this topic. Today, the expectation for high quality video is just not what it used to be. You do not have to spend thousands of dollars to produce the most high quality live streaming experience. People just aren't expecting it. Almost the higher quality, the more produced it is, they kind of question authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So be a little raw, be a little in the moment. Live stream was not really meant to be this planned out thing. It was meant to capture things in that moment. So take the pressure off. Don't spend a lot of money and just be authentic. Just keep it real.
I agree with what you're saying, Terrell, because part of it is when you start out, I would say get volunteers, find a techie friend, or go to a Best Buy or go to a camera store and let them know, hey, we're new, we're just getting started. What advice do you have for me? And then get some volunteers that have done this either at work or with another church that they've been to in the past, and start small. The other thing is you can always leverage PowerPoints and other visual aspects on the screen as part of that live stream. It can be an evolving experience. So trial and error is great. And starting where you are, the most important thing, I think, is building your audience and having great content. The rest and the technology is really that. Get a good friend that can help you. Don't feel like you have to do it all yourself.
That's really good. That's really good. You know, earlier it was mentioned by you, Lashaundra, that there are copyright considerations. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
My thoughts in regards to that were around music, because, you know, in churches, we're usually covering somebody else's songs. And people, that's property that is owned by somebody else. And unless you have paid for like a music licensing service, which churches can do, many don't do. If you end up broadcasting somebody's song, you could actually get in trouble legally. So I would discourage that piece unless you do have licensing and permission to broadcast. If you use something like YouTube, and even Facebook has added some sounds, but YouTube has like a sound library. And so if you go in and you decide, hey, I want to do a little intro for the ministry before we do this live stream, then that's okay, because you're using sounds that are in that library that they already have permission to use. And some of them are popular songs, but for the most part, there aren't the songs you're going to hear on the radio. So just be really cautious about using copyrighted material unless you actually have permission or a license to do it.
Yeah, matter of fact, many of the streams are so sophisticated now that if they hear something familiar, and most of our Christian songs are not as familiar as they don't consider them worthy sometimes. But if you start playing certain songs, they'll shut your video stream down, or it will get unposted. They'll take it offline. So some things to consider about copywriting. And we could talk all day about live streaming and the no-nos and the things that you could do. But I want to go back to a hack that was there earlier, which is don't be afraid to fail. There are some major failures that can happen with live stream that you want to stay away from, but ultimately just jump out there and give it a try. Show your personality and just see what happens. I want to shift for a moment in these last 2 minutes that we have to really understand if you guys have any last minute tips about taking the marketing off of the digital space into some actual live things that we need to do by way of marketing to connect our ministry with the community.
Ask that again.
Marketing to connect our ministry to the community outside of digital.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll start.
Sure.
Go outside. Go outside. Like, seriously. Go outside at your local chamber events. Mm-hmm. Go to business after hours and meet some people that are outside of the context of ministry or the nonprofit sector. Because those are opportunities to build relationships. Even in my own community, I belong to 2 different chambers. I'm on a couple of boards. I rarely see pastors or people who are over nonprofits in those circles. And it's unfortunate because people who work in industry care about nonprofits as well. And they will also sponsor things and support events and give donations. But they do those when they have relationship. So if they don't have relationship with you, then they don't know that, you know, you have these events coming up that they can actually support in the community. So please go outside. It's nice out there.
And Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I like to add, I mean, for us, we partnered with the YMCA in an event. You know, what a great organization. If you have one locally, they are always looking for a place to hold stuff. They have youth groups, they have youth events. And if you have a building, what a great way to reuse that building. And the YMCA, usually you create a great partnership because they have senior activities as well as youth events. So you can engage them where you're at. All right, Emily.
All right. So
As
the
com-
last
yes.
thing I would add around events is based on your community and going out and asking them what the needs are and what's around you, then host that event at your church. And it's a great way to bring people into the building. And then if you do have video equipment or you do have your iPhone, and you can offer to video it and then post it on your website. And I'll give a great example of this. So I was recently at a Disciples Church, and they had up on their sign out front that they were having an Alzheimer's event at their church, and it was put on by the hospital that was right across the street from them. And the hospital needed a good place to have it where they could bring in a lot of folks from the community. And so they had it, they videoed it, and then they put it on their website, and then the church linked to it, or I'm sorry, the hospital linked to it. And the minister was saying, you know, it was such a simple thing. People came in, they felt welcome. And now all of a sudden we've got parents coming, we've got other families coming, and we had a need and we served it and we've videoed it and we were able to share it. And so I think it's just get out there, find out what folks need, and then try different unique things like that.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. This has been amazing, some invaluable hacks. And thank each of you who have joined us today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the many ways that you continue to bless us with your presence. We had a great turnout today, and we want to continue to spread the love. So I'm going to ask each of you to put your contact information so they can get a hold of you, learn about the pension fund, learn about Sylvia's church plant, learn about Lashaundra's consulting agency. Please put those into the chat right now so that they can learn more about how to get a hold of you. Also, if any of you are considering ways in which your church can participate in the new church movement, I'd love to hear from you. Again, if you're interested in even planning a church, I'm your man. Contact me, let me know. We will be having the playback for this episode available in weeks to come at newchurchhacks.com for you to take a look at. Also, you can learn more about New Church Ministries at hopepmt.org. Remember us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're not on Instagram yet. We are going to get there, but we are on YouTube, so you can look up many of our videos. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to text me at 317-593-5323. Now, as I promised, I want to give you 7 totally unrelated new church hacks for being a magnetic ministry. Okay, I'm going to run through them really quick here. Number 1, be relatable and effective in reaching new unchurched people. Number 2, be both missional and attractional to our unchurched friends, families, and neighbors. Number 3, be transcendent worshipers. Do not be fake. Number 4, cultivate communities that inspire awe, wonder, and worship of God. Number 5, spiritual authenticity supersedes any type of cosmetic form of worship. Number 6, help not only for people to hear about God, but experience God. And number 7, create a place where people want to linger, to eat together, pray together, laugh together, and cry together. Thank you guys so much. Please get a hold of our conversationalist at a later time, and we will see you next time for New Church Hacks. Bye.
Bye.